And now the Democrats threaten to have their own January 6th. Good morning, Kuhner country. Okay, my friends, 3 weeks to go now until the most important election, at least in our lifetimes, if not since the election of 1860. And things now are looking more bleak for Kamala Harris and the Democrats by the day, by the hour, frankly, even by the minute. So here is now the absolute latest. There are not one, not two, but three major new polls out. NBC News, ABC News, CBS News. You don't get more establishment, more pro-Democrat, more so-called mainstream, quote-unquote, than those three media outlets. And as the outlets themselves admit, they oversample Democrats. At least 2 to 3, maybe 4 percentage points in favor of Democrats. Because they claim, this is their excuse, that Trump voters simply don't answer polls. So they freely admit, this is actually a little high for Kamala. Well, here it is. The numbers speak for themselves. NBC News now has Trump and Kamala in the national popular vote. Trump is now up 1 percentage point. He has gained 6 points in the last month alone. 6 points in the national popular polls, just in the national popular vote. CBS, ABC confirmed the exact same thing. Trump now is starting to pull away and run away with it because the popular vote may be close, with Trump now clearly leading. But in the battleground states, the 7 key swing states that will decide the election, all 3 major polls now admit Kamala is underwater. Kamala is in deep, deep trouble. In Nevada, Trump has now opened up a +5 lead, almost insurmountable. Arizona, the Sun Belt, Arizona and Nevada now appear decisively in Trump's camp. All he then needs to do is pick off 2 more states. He will get to 270. Georgia is trending Trump. North Carolina is trending Trump. Pennsylvania, Trump now has a decisive lead. Michigan is now trending Trump. Wisconsin is trending Trump. The Democrats now are in a full-blown panic. There is no other way to put it. And it's now leaking into the media. Listen now to Mika Brzezinski on Morning Joe. It is maybe the most pro-Kamala, pro-Democrat show on the most pro-Kamala, pro-Democrat network in the entire country. And when they're telling you she's in trouble, she's in big trouble. Listen to Mika saying, I think Trump's going to win. And many Democrats are already starting to get incredibly depressed. Roll cut 19. Mike.
So that's the thing, is this morning and also all week we've been talking about the frustration among a lot of Democrats that maybe the message isn't breaking through to key voters. I mean, the polls seem so close every time a new one comes out. Neck and neck. And there's this fear that Donald Trump is poised for victory. I think it's fair for Democrats to be incredibly depressed. I think it's fair for them to be discouraged. I think it's fair for them to explore whether Kamala Harris should be doing more. Feel free to do that. These things are all legitimate. I don't know what more she can do, especially given what happened, though, in 2016. Because that was a trauma for anybody who loves this country, and a trauma that didn't end that day.
Now, you notice she's almost quivering in her voice, like she's about to cry. Like they're starting to, I'm telling you, they're already starting to melt down. Now, what all the polls show, and this is why I'm telling you he's going to win, okay? I'm telling you he's going to win. She is bleeding, I mean hemorrhaging, male voters. And it's not just white men, and it's not just the white working class. No, 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 no. This is now what she's losing, and she can't get it back. She is bleeding black men and Latino men. In fact, now it's almost a free fall, to the point that they tried to send Barack Obama out to campaign and try to shame black men into voting for her. It's not going to work. Listen now to Congressman James Clyburn. You remember him. Top figure in the Congressional Black Caucus. He was the man who rescued Joe Biden's nomination in 2020 during the primary when he endorsed him in South Carolina and told the African Americans of that state, forget Bernie, pull the lever for Joey. Well, listen to him. Black men are abandoning the Democrats and embracing Trump in massive numbers. Roll cut 18. Mike.
You just heard Donald Trump making his appeal to black men quite explicit. Your friend, Congresswoman Debbie Dingell, who you campaigned with in Michigan, says that the message she's hearing from black men is, quote, Democrats take us for granted. Donald Trump talks to us directly. Are you concerned about black men voting for Trump or staying home?
Well, thank you very much for having me. Yes, I am concerned about black men staying home or voting for Trump.
Yeah, I'd be more than concerned. I'd be ringing a 5-alarm fire right about now, okay? Look, you can tell, even in their voices, they're demoralized. They're shell-shocked. They understand now. They can read the internal polls. By the way, much worse than the polling from these national media outlets. So, a political bloodbath is about to take place in 3 weeks. And as everybody can now read the writing on the wall, top congressional Democrats, you got to listen to this, in an interview with Axios, which is a liberal publication, or to be more accurate, a liberal media outlet. It is huge inside the Beltway, very liberal, very pro-Democrat, very pro-Biden-Harris. Top congressional Democrats have now told Axios, led by Jamie Raskin, the ranking member on the House Oversight Committee, one of the key members of the January 6th committee. Raskin and other senior congressional Democrats now warned Axios, if Trump wins in November, and they admit it now looks more likely than ever he will, they will not certify the election results. Or to be more specific and accurate, they will no longer guarantee that they will certify the election results. They say that they do not believe that should Trump win, that it will be, their words, not mine, a free, fair, and honest election. They are also saying not only is Trump going to engage in voter fraud, so they're already now accusing Trump and the Republicans of engaging in fraud, but furthermore, they now also say that Trump, under Section 3 of the 14th Amendment, you know they've made this argument before, is a quote-unquote insurrectionist. And because he's an insurrectionist for what happened on January 6, 2020, they will not certify Donald Trump's victory, even according to Raskin, if this means creating quote-unquote civil war conditions. They will not accept the election results if Trump wins. They will not certify a Trump victory should he win. In other words, the irony of all ironies. You want to talk about the greatest hypocrisy I've ever heard in my entire life. These are the hypocrites of hypocrites. They will have their own January 6th to prevent Trump from being installed and inaugurated into office. They will not accept Trump, even if he wins the popular vote, even if he wins the Electoral College, no matter what, come hell or high water. They say they will not allow Hitler, a wannabe dictator, to come into power. So, here is now where the Democrats are. They're practically conceding the election. And now, like sore losers, like insurrectionists, as I pointed out on X last night, I go, you want to talk about an insurrection? You want to talk about open treason and betrayal? You want to talk about an existential threat to quote-unquote democracy? What the hell is this? 3 weeks before the election? Now you're saying you won't certify him? If I were Trump, I would pounce all over this. This shows how immoral, how illegitimate, how morally and intellectually bankrupt and desperate the Democrats are. 19 on the great WRKO. Jeff Kuhner, Boston's bulldozer. 617-266-6868 is the number. So, my friends, here is now really where the state of the election, and in many ways the state of the country is 3 weeks before November 5th. You clearly have the Kamala campaign. They are now collapsing. As I said, a new batch of polls now shows Trump is starting to pull away, especially in the key battleground states. Her media blitz has turned into a disaster. In fact, she has lost support. The more she opens her mouth, the less voters like her. And on top of all of that, Donald Trump is barnstorming state after state after state after state. And he is now focusing on the economy, the border, ending the wars in Russia, in Ukraine, ending the wars in the Middle East. And as all of this is taking place, as his message is now really resonating, and Kamala is flailing, the Democrats now are openly saying, threatening, that they will not accept the election results. They will scream fraud. They will scream that he's an insurrectionist over January 6th. And unbelievably, they now say they will block him from being inaugurated. Now, I don't believe that they can succeed. I think this is going to blow up in their face like nothing they've ever seen before. As I said in my opening monologue, you want to talk about rank hypocrisy. So, the party that's been lecturing us about quote-unquote democracy and going on about January 6th, the insurrection, this was treason, the worst that ever happened to America since, forget Pearl Harbor, forget 9/11, since the Civil War. Now you're going to have your own insurrection? You're going to have your own January 6th? Yeah, good luck with that. Good luck, and see if that works. Look, my friends, this now reeks of desperation. It reeks of panic. And Trump should call them out and demand that the media ask them. Now the question has to be turned. The tables need to be turned. Will you accept the election results? Biden needs to be asked, will you accept the election results? Kamala, will you accept the election results? Hakeem Jeffries, will you accept the election results? Schumer, will you accept the election results? Every Democrat now needs to be asked that question. And if they say no, election denier, insurrectionist. Throw it right back in their face. As I said on X, and I want to repeat it, they are the real threat to democracy. They are the ones who are now saying they will cancel an election, the results of an election, simply because their candidate loses. Now, you tell me, how does any liberal, any Democrat, any journalist, anyone out there defend this after what they've put this country through? And on top of all of that, they tried to kill Donald Trump one more time. Again, as I said on X, in California, at Coachella, Trump held, this is deep blue California, Trump held a monster rally of over 100,000 people that showed up. 100,000. And yet local police, the sheriff now say that they arrested a man who has been stalking Trump and the Trump campaign now for months. And they say they arrested him. He had a handgun. He had a shotgun. His goal was to kill and murder and assassinate the former president of the United States. This is now the third assassination attempt on him in the last months. The third. And I believe it is no accident that the closer we get to the election, you're going to see even more assassination attempts. Because now everybody can see that Trump is now marching towards the White House. As we speak today, if this was a military campaign, he is now, and his army, us, MAGA, we are now at the gates of victory. The left and the Democrats want him dead. That is why they are now unleashing assassination attempt after assassination attempt after assassination attempt. And by the grace of God, they keep failing over and over and over again. And so, I want to ask all of you, as Trump now surges, as Harris's campaign now crumbles and begins to collapse, as the Democrats now privately begin to concede Trump may be the next president of the United States, who is the real enemy of democracy? And by the way, for the 1,000th time, we're a republic and not a democracy, but let that go. Who is the real enemy of our democracy? Is it the Democrats, who top congressional leaders now say they will not accept the election results, even if Trump wins the popular vote, even if he wins the Electoral College, and they will not certify? And the party now that has tried 3 times to assassinate him. 6:31 on the great WRKO. Jeff Kuhner, Boston's bulldozer. 617-266-6868 is the number. Okay, just give me 2 more minutes. The lines are jammed. I want to go right to the phone lines, Kuhner Country. So many of you throughout the weekend, you know, it's not like I have a life. You know, it's not like I don't have, a wife, family, kids, you know. I do like to see them once in a while. But anyway, I'm just teasing all of you, playfully teasing all of you. I appreciate all the support I get, all the emails I get, all the text messages, the messages on Messenger, on Facebook. I don't care, Saturday, Sunday, in the middle of the night. But anyway, many of you over the weekend, while the Kuhner Man was trying to get a little bit of family time, were writing me, and you're making excellent questions and asking excellent questions, forgive me, and making excellent points. Which is, why is Trump in California? Jeff, I don't get it. He's going to go to New York. He wants to do a massive rally in Madison Square Garden. Why is Trump, campaigning? He was in Colorado, and I'll get to that in Aurora in particular. Just an absolutely brilliant speech. So why is Trump now focusing on some blue states? One reason, let's take New York and New Jersey. The polls there are getting so tight that Trump's people believe New York could potentially be in play. Now, as you know, New York has been, for a very long time, a reliably blue state, a Democrat stronghold. If Trump can flip New York, A, it's a landslide. B, it'll be, by election night, this thing will be early. Good night, Irene. He is going to win in one of the biggest electoral college victories we've seen in decades. So they are that confident in the Trump camp now that they are in the driver's seat, that the momentum, the energy now is all behind him and his campaign, and that Kamala now has stalled. She is in trouble. They now have to try to defend blue states. The other reason why he's in California is there's now a fight going on for the popular vote. What Trump wants, and I completely agree with him, not just an electoral college victory. He doesn't want a repeat of 2016, where he loses the popular vote by a little bit, but wins the electoral college, because then the Democrats will scream, illegitimate. He lost the popular vote. Why is he president? Now, legally, constitutionally, politically, historically, it means nothing. Founding fathers set up the electoral college system, not a national presidential system. Okay? But he wants the popular vote, so the Democrats can't say, oh, but Kamala got more votes. This will blunt their attempts to claim Trump is illegitimate after he wins in November. So what he's now urging, and I completely agree with him, say here in Massachusetts, go out and vote. Even if the Republicans lose, even if Trump loses Massachusetts, the more of us that go out to vote, the more we're going to increase the national popular vote total for Trump. Trump now wants a victory not just in the Electoral College, but in the national popular vote. And this way, the media, the Democrats can say nothing, absolutely nothing. In other words, they are now beginning to pour it on. Pour it on. Listen to Trump. We've got to make it too big to rig. Here is Trump in California. Roll cut 12. Mike.
We will not be conquered. We will not be occupied. We will not be invaded. We will reclaim our sovereignty. We will reclaim our nation. And I will give back your freedom and give back your life. Everyone will prosper. Every family will thrive. And every day will be filled with opportunity and hope. But for that to happen, we must defeat Kamala Harris and stop her radical left agenda once and for all. And we want record numbers. We want to make it too big to rig. We want to go out and have record numbers. Get everyone you know and vote. After all we've been through together, and we've been through a lot. We've watched our country disintegrate right in front of us. We stand on the verge of the 4 greatest years in the history of our country. I think we can do that. I think these have a chance to be the 4 greatest years in the history of our country.
He's right. We've got to now swamp the polls. We've got to make it too big to rig. Right now, we are poised to do that. We are on the cusp. With 3 weeks to go, we now need to pour it on and not let up. Agree, disagree, 617-266-6868. So let's put this on the table. Are the Democrats now the enemies of democracy? A third assassination attempt on Trump. They want to kill him. They wanted to take him off the ballot. They are not going to stop. Furthermore, they now say they will not, or at least congressional Democrats, that they will not certify or accept the election results should Trump win on November 5th. And now the polls brutal for Kamala, and Trump says, let's go for the knockout. We're going to take not just the Electoral College, give me the national popular vote, give me a full mandate, and we will have the 4 best years in the history of our country. 617-266-6868. Agree, disagree. Dave, you're going to kick us off in New Jersey. Thanks for holding, Dave, and welcome.
Good morning, Jeff. I listened to, actually watched it in California. It was a great speech, unbelievable crowd. Your report of an assassination attempt was the first that I heard of that. But I wanted to briefly talk about the talking heads on the liberal media crying about Kamala losing the black male vote. They won't address is Trump's message and how it resonates and appeals to people. They don't question, like, what is it about his message that is appealing not only to white men, but Latin men, black men. They won't discuss that at all. And I believe they don't want to discuss it because that'll point right back in their face, their own failures. And the other thing, why would someone vote for the person or group that caused all the problems to begin with and then promise to fix the same problems that they created? That, to me, is just insanity. And
Dave, look, you hit the nail right on the head. And Dave, look, let me ask you this, okay? Say you were running a business. Here, let's say a 7-Eleven, okay? A corner store. And a group of people in your neighborhood always went to your corner store. Always. For 60 years. They were your most reliable customers. No matter what. It's a hurricane, whatever. It's a storm. It's a winter. It's whatever. Snow, rain, sunshine. It doesn't matter. They're always there every year, all the time, 60 years. And all of a sudden, they stop going to your, to your business, to your 7-Eleven store. And they start going across the street to another 7-Eleven store or another corner store. Wouldn't you, as a business owner, ask yourself, why? Instead of calling the competition across the street racist, xenophobic, I hate them, scumbags, wouldn't you say, what did I do to alienate my customers? And what is that person doing that's bringing in all of my former customers? Dave, seriously, wouldn't you ask yourself that question?
I would. Like they stopped carrying my favorite beer. I found a store that carries my favorite beer. Now I'm going over to that store.
Exactly.
If I was the store owner, I would go over there. What is he selling that I am not selling?
Bingo.
What is he selling that's appealing to my former customers that I don't have? Because I will go out and I will get that in my store. And I might even try to sell it for a little bit less to get them people back.
There you go. There you go. See? That's how you run a business, but that's how you run a political party. But you see, and the reason, and they don't want to do that because then that goes back to their fundamental failures and their real agenda, which is not to serve their customers. It's to serve their paymasters. They're the oligarchs. They're billionaire bosses who control them. No, look, it's obvious. What is appealing about Trump? Why is he winning the black men, the Latino men? It's because he's offering them a secure border, better living wages, lower inflation. He's offering them a life. WRKO, Jeff Kuhner, Boston's Bulldozer, 617-266-6868 is the number. Okay, panic is now setting in within the Kamala campaign. They have now seen a new batch of polls. You don't get more establishment than ABC News Ipsos, NBC News, CBS News. The Wall Street Journal has their own poll. It is brutal for Kamala Harris. Trump now is starting to pull away with it. And as her media offensive falters, now, in fact, is reports, this is in liberal media outlets, the New York Times, the Washington Post, there is now infighting, finger pointing. They're already doing the blame game. Divisions between Kamala's team and the White House. Kamala's people are now leaking, saying that Biden is sabotaging her campaign, that his staffers are not fully supporting and cooperating. The Biden White House now is leaking that she's a terrible candidate. So don't blame us. We gave her all the support we could. So it now appears that Kamala's campaign is beginning to unravel. And as Grace, I think, really beautifully put it, we have 3 weeks left. If this is anything close to a free, fair, and honest election, Trump will win 300 electoral college votes, and he will be the next president of the United States. But it's like waiting for a bank robbery. You know, we're all, the money is there. We've all worked hard. We've all put, we deposit our money. We're law-abiding citizens, but we know the Democrats are going to cheat, and we know they're going to try to steal it. And it's like waiting now for the bank robbers to strike. And that's what the next 3 weeks is going to feel like. We're just waiting now to see if and when they try to steal the election. 617-266-6868. And if Trump and the Republicans have put up enough security guards, i.e. guardrails, to block it, prevent it, or at least mitigate it to the point that it doesn't prevent Trump from winning. 617-266-6868. Andy in Milford. Thanks for holding, Andy, and welcome.
Good morning, Jeff.
Hi.
Good morning. Hi. Hey, Jeff, just one issue from last week I just want to touch on just very quickly. There were some questions about where to find out about Trump flag waves in Massachusetts. Very quickly, on Facebook, Mass number 4 Trump will get you to the official Massachusetts Trump campaign website on Facebook, and online it's Mass number 4 Trump 2024.com. And that'll get
Excellent.
you to the and you just
Thank you, Andy.
Go there, click events, and all the Trump flag waves and everything going on in Massachusetts is right there. Okay, now, what I wanted to address, Jeff, is this, obviously, little Jamie Raskin is at it again, saying that the Democrats will refuse to certify Trump if he wins. And I want every Trump voter in Kuhner country to listen to this very carefully. This is where the down ballot becomes very important. And if the Republicans can hold the House, and if we can get an additional 10 America First conservative Republicans elected to the House, the Republicans will have a decisive majority to certify Trump. Little Jamie Raskin will be powerless. And if we retake the Senate, the votes will be there to certify Trump, irregardless of what the Democrats will do. And I know, and I say this from the heart to every Trump voter, I am just as frustrated as you are with things that have gone on in the Republican Party, the backstabbing, the betrayal, but we need candidates down ballot that are going to come through with defending our values. So please, every Trump voter, pay attention to that down ballot and send more conservative Republicans to Congress.
I so agree with you, Andy. I could not agree with you more. And look, to everybody out there, no one's been a bigger critic of the Republican Party, and especially the Republican establishment, than the Kuhner man. I am going to vote Republican down ballot. Why? Not for the Republicans, for Trump. You're not doing it for the Republicans. You're doing it for Trump. And because Andy's completely correct, if the Democrats are able to flip the House, and this is the scenario they're outlining, that's when they say, and Andy, I just want to clarify this, it's not just Jamie Raskin. He's the one spearheading this initiative. It's the entire senior congressional House leadership, Democratic leadership. So it's senior congressional Democrats who are saying, we will not certify. We will not accept the election results. So it's a huge story. The reason why none of you have heard of it is because the liberal media knows if they report it, how can they go after Trump on January 6th? The Democrats are plotting and planning their own January 6th. It'll expose them as the mother of all hypocrites. So you have to help Trump out. Now, just very quickly, because I want to get your take, Andy, and all of you. Here is very quickly what's happening. Trump now is developing coattails, which is, again, a very promising sign. The Republicans are going to pick up 2 Senate seats. Montana, it looks like Tester, the Democrat, the incumbent, is going down. He's behind the Republican by 8 to 10 points in the polls. West Virginia is even a bigger lead for the Republican over the Democrat incumbent. So if Montana and West Virginia both flip, as they looks like they will, already the Republicans will control the Senate. Schumer is out as the Senate Majority Leader, and it looks like it'll be Rick Scott, who's a very good MAGA Republican. He will be the Senate Majority Leader. But Trump is now doing so well in Pennsylvania, Casey's in big trouble. They can flip Pennsylvania. Sherrod Brown, the incumbent in Ohio, he's in big trouble. So the Republicans could potentially easily pick up 4 Senate seats, which means they don't just get the Senate back, they actually have a little bit of a cushion and a good majority. Now, the key is going to be the House. That's trench warfare. That's going to be district by district, vote by vote. We need to make sure that the Republicans keep control of the House. Then the Democrats cannot stop or block Trump no matter what. So you are completely right. If every Republican goes out and votes, and they vote down ballot, we will save our country. It's really that simple. We cannot get complacent. We can't get overconfident. The polls look great. Look, I can tell you this. There are a dozen stories. A dozen over the weekend. Trump is supremely confident now. The Trump camp, this is the way it's being described. They have no worries and they're very happy. The Kamala camp, on the other hand, they are miserable, they are panicking, and they're deeply worried. So, with 3 weeks left to go, the momentum is now all behind Trump. And if we give him a mandate, he will save our country. The only question I have is this. Andy, I saw how they stole it in 2020. I was confident that Trump was going to win the vote. I was warning about the possibility of corruption and that they were going to steal it. But if I said if it's a free and fair election, Trump will win. They stole it in 2020. Do you fear, Andy, that they will steal it again? That to me now, in other words, are they going to rob the bank a second time? What say you?
Well, I've thought a lot about that, Jeff, and at this point, I've concluded the hand of God has brought President Trump this far. And so there's a place there where I've got to have trust in God that they're not going to steal it. I think the Republicans are a lot more awake to the situation this time, and especially the outside groups that are doing a lot of work in the area of election integrity. I think there's going to just be a lot of eyes on the process everywhere this time around, and I don't think they're going to get away with what they did in 2020. Now, couple that with the enormous success that Scott Presler has had with new Republican voter registration, especially in Pennsylvania. Listen, there will be a certain amount of cheating going on that they'll get away with. That's the sad reality, but I think this thing is just going to be, I don't think they're going to be able to produce enough of it this time to steal it. That's my take. From your lips to God's ears. Andy, thank you very much for that call. 617-266-6868. Couple lines are open if you want to jump on. Look, I think no matter what, Trump's people and all of us, we need to pounce over this. Raskin and the congressional Democrats are now saying they're not going to certify the election. It's time for us to go on the political counteroffensive. Go to your liberal family members, your liberal friends, and say, whoa, who's the threat to democracy now? So you guys now, your party is now saying, even if Trump wins the popular vote, even if he wins the Electoral College, you're not going to seat him? You're not going to inaugurate him? So let me get this straight. You wanted to take him off the ballot. 12 states, you wanted to take him off the ballot. Then that wasn't enough. So you tried to jail him. That wasn't enough. Then you tried to kill him. That wasn't enough. And now you won't seat the guy if he wins? And hold on. He's the threat to democracy? No, I'm sorry. The party that wants to jail its opponents and not recognize the election results and will effectively block and prevent that person from being inaugurated. If that's not a coup, I don't know what is. If that's not defying the will of the voters, I don't know what is. If that's not, their word, an insurrection, I don't know what is. This will demoralize them. This will put them on the defensive. They won't have a rebuttal left. That's why I'm urging Trump's people, my God, this is a gift from the political gods. Say, hold on, whoa. You're going to lecture us about January 6th? As they're literally plotting and planning their own January 6th? And remember, no matter what you think of January 6th, 2 hours later, Biden was certified. No one prevented the peaceful transfer of power. What Raskin and the congressional Democrats are now planning is there will be no peaceful transfer of power. In fact, Raskin's own words, quote, it will create civil war conditions. Who's talking about political violence? Them. Who's talking about blocking the peaceful transfer of power? Them. Who's talking now about not recognizing election results? Them. And you call Trump the dictator? Are you guys serious? Trump's got him. Their panic, their desperation, their Trump derangement syndrome, their blind hatred, and that's what this is now, insane, irrational hatred, has now led him to the point of absolute absurdity. The party of quote-unquote democracy is rebelling and calling for the overthrow of democracy. The party of January 6th is now calling for their own January 6th. It is going to blow up like a political atomic bomb.
You think Trump is up big now. Wait till Trump and his people get this story out. The media is sweeping it under the rug. Okay? Axios reported on it. It's a liberal media outlet. Politico didn't touch it. CNN didn't touch it. NBC, CBS, ABC, New York Times, Washington Post. No one else touched it because they realize this thing is radioactive. We tell the American people what the congressional Democrats are really planning, and it's going to nuke the Democrats in November. 617-266-6868 is the number. Let's go to Dave in Stoneham. Thanks for holding, Dave, and welcome.
Good morning, Jeff. How you doing?
Honestly, I have been not feeling this good for a long time. With 3 weeks left to go, Dave, I am feeling very good, very optimistic, fingers crossed. I just wish come on, I want the election. You know what I mean, Dave? Like, I wish it was today. You know, come on now. I want him in so badly. I wish the election was moved up 3 weeks. But outside of that, Dave, could not be better.
Jeff, absolutely, I agree. Jeff, a friend of mine lives in California right now. He moved out there this past summer last year. Jeff, he got to Coachella. He said it was insane. They had to park a mile away from where the event was. And for what the rumors were, from what he was hearing, they were only expecting 25,000 people. Turned out to be, for what he's heard after that, there was 150,000 total, maybe more, at the event. Now, Jeff, the second thing was coming through my head a minute ago. Instead of inside Madison Square Garden, why can't it be at Central Park, which would hold a lot more people than Madison Square Garden would, being indoors? And at the same time, Jeff, what's bothering me at the moment, what about that computer chip that they used on the last election to steal it? That's bothering me. And another thing that's bothering me, Jeff, we know Trump's in the head, but the whole thing is behind it is that as soon as he gets in, they're afraid of the January 6th being freed and getting their freedom back. And I think that's bothering them also, Jeff. And they're sitting in the cell blocks for nothing. They did nothing wrong. And that's what they're also afraid of.
I agree. Dave, look, they're afraid of many, many things. You're right. The January 6ers being freed, all the abuses and the human rights violations committed against the January 6ers, that's all going to come out and be exposed. But I think even deeper than that, they're afraid they're going to go to jail. That's the problem now. Many of them fear that the Justice Department under Trump is going to prosecute criminal wrongdoing. And there was so much criminality and so much abuse of power and, frankly, so much open treason and sedition that they realize many of them now could end up behind bars for the rest of their lives. And that's why they're dangerous, and that's why they're desperate. And that's why at Coachella there was a third assassination attempt. Now, luckily, no shots were fired, but they saw the man with his guns, and his intent was clear to kill the president. He had been stalking him for months. He had been following him rally after rally, and this time he got very close. Law enforcement spotted him, and they arrested him. And then the sheriff said, I'm not going to let the media bury this. And so the local sheriff said he wanted to murder and kill Trump. And had we not had this extraordinary level of security, he would have shot him in the head. So this is now their third assassination attempt. And I'm telling you, there's going to be at least 2 or 3 more before November 5th. And security has to be perfect every single time. All these assassins need is one time. They just need to succeed once. Security around Trump has to succeed every single time. So, this is now the fear that is now gripping many of them. Now, they're going to try to steal it. Here's now the problem. I think it's becoming too big to steal. We're going to see. We need about another week. And I think things will be even clearer and more in focus. But, this is what I said to Grace, and I want to share this analogy with everybody. When you're, say, in a track and field meet, okay, say there's a sprint. You got two runners. If one runner is slightly ahead, and the one behind the front runner kind of grabs by the shirt, yanks him back, tucks him back, and steals it at the photo line, you'll call it a photo finish, at the finish line. If the cameras don't catch it, if people play stupid, that's what they did in 2020. Okay? What's much harder to do is when you have a front runner that is ahead by 3, 4, 5 lengths, way ahead. And then the person behind jumps and tackles the front runner. And the front runner falls down. And that person then gets up and then rushes to the finish line and starts putting their arms up. I won. That's the point. And then it's obvious. Then it's blatant. It was clearly stolen. Okay, no question. They're slowly now getting to that point where Trump is now so obviously in the lead. And not just so obviously in the lead. I'm telling you, mark my words, Dave, the biggest mistake they ever made. They should never have let her out of the basement. Huge mistake. Because now the public perception is starting to harden and become fixed. She's an idiot. I'm not saying this to insult her. Really. She's a doofus. She's an airhead. She's an empty vessel. And people just say, she can't win. She cannot be our president. They will not believe that someone as vacuous and moronic as her could ever win an election on her own. She's going down. On the great WRKO, Jeff Kuhner, Boston's Bulldozer, 617-266-6868 is the number. Jeff in Kentucky. Thanks for holding, Jeff, and welcome.
Hey, Jeff. How you doing?
Good. How are you?
Hey, not bad. So they're complaining that, it's going to be stolen. We're not going to certify. We're worried about them stealing the election and everything else. And so my thought on this is they're going to spin it. So Trump's lead is getting big that it can't be stolen, correct?
It's starting to get to that point. Yes, Jeff.
Yeah. So now imagine, instead of saying, hey, let's put some votes in for Kamala, let's put some votes in for Trump. Because now what we've done is we've made it so big, it looks like it was rigged. So we're not going to certify that election because it's not a real election.
Oh, that's interesting. In other words, they're going to commit fraud, but then project it onto Trump and say, you see, he was the one who engaged in voter fraud and corruption. He's the one that's illegitimate. His victory was not on the up and up, correct? I mean, that's the thing, Jeff. Look, again, I go back to, it's not even my analogy, it's, my wife's, Grace. We're just waiting now for them to try to rob the bank. And how are they going to rob the bank? What door they're going to use? How they're going to try to execute it? So who knows what kind of devious, diabolical plans they have. But Jeff, look, I think there's a problem now. It's reality is setting in. And the reality is that the border has been destroyed, that inflation has so driven up the cost of living for ordinary middle working class Americans, that people are living with crime on a daily basis, whether it be in Springfield, Ohio, or Aurora, Colorado, or you can just name your town, name your city. Reality is reality is reality. And they overplayed their hand, Jeff. They believed too much in the power of propaganda, that the media could sell her, that the media could promote her, and it's just not working. And I'm telling you, the biggest mistake they ever made, Jeff, letting her speak. Had they just done scripted speeches where she just goes and does a rally a day, comes in, gives her stupid speech with full of platitudes, 20 minutes, 25 minutes, back to the basement, let the media just keep lionizing her, and you sharpen your voting fraud machine, maybe they would have had a chance. I still think they would have lost, but maybe they would have had a chance. The problem is, every time she opens her mouth, people begin to laugh at her. They're laughing at her. Look, I can play you cuts. Sandy got me 15 cuts of Kamala over the weekend. And Sandy has never done this. In all the years we've been working together, okay, my executive producer, she's never done that. I'm telling you. It's every time she's talking about a Kamala cut to me, the pre-show production meeting. And she's like, my God, this woman's stupid. This is her. Oh, she's an idiot. What an idiot. So then she said this. Can you believe this? Oh my God, is she dumb? The word salads, how incoherent she is. The cackling, the laughing. Cackling and laughing when nothing funny is being said. I'm sorry, the only word is imbecile. She comes across as an imbecile. And that's now set in. The public sees, look, they've lost Saturday Night Live. They've lost, Democrats, Kamala and Waltz have lost Saturday Night Live. When Saturday Night Live, when the liberals on Saturday Night Live are mocking Tim Waltz as a knucklehead and mocking Kamala for being a cackling, muttering, stumbling buffoon, they're openly making fun of her intelligence. They're even insinuating she's got a drinking problem. Drinky, drinky, drinky. Jeff, you can't walk that back. That's why they're now in a panic. They don't know what to do. And my prediction, I could be wrong, Jeff, I think in about a week, Schumer, Hakeem Jeffries, Obama, Hillary, Nancy Pelosi are going to have a powwow, a sit down with Kamala, and they're going to say, we're going to cut you loose. We're going to start taking money out of your campaign coffers to try to save these down ballot races because it's going to turn into a slaughter. If Trump, look, if the projections hold up, it's not just that Trump is going to, roar back to power. They're going to have a huge, a comfortable majority in the Senate. They're going to pick up a lot of seats in the House. They're going to destroy them in state legislative races. So the Republicans will control the White House, all of Congress, the Supreme Court, the majority of governorships and state legislatures across the country. That's your national integrity law right there. They can pass the SAVE Act like this. They can pass massive deportations like this. They could build a wall like this. I mean, within 100 days, Trump could literally transform the country. So Democrats now have to make a decision whether to fish or cut bait. And if these numbers continue to plummet, when it comes to Kamala, they're going to cut bait and they're going to cut and run fast. On the great WRKO, Jeff Kuhner, Boston's Bulldozer, 617-266-6868 is the number. Okay, a couple lines are open if you want to jump on. So, here's another problem. This is like a ship now that's just leaking everywhere. You can't plug the holes anymore. So, one of the things now, because this is a major problem that the Kamala people have, she is bleeding, working class voters. It doesn't matter what race. It really, the working class is going all in for Trump. In fact, we're watching history in the making. Donald Trump, in front of our eyes, has transformed the Republican Party into a working class, middle class party. The Democrats now are the party of the rich. They're the party of Hollywood, Silicon Valley, Wall Street, these big hedge fund guys, these billionaire globalist oligarchs. So really, the Democrats are the party of the extremes. You've got the uber rich who bankroll them and control them. And of course, you have welfare deadbeats and the illegals who vote for them. So they have, on the poorest of the poor, or those on welfare, and they've got the ultra rich. The Republicans now under Trump are really becoming the party of the broad middle. Upper middle class, working class, small business owners, farmers, rural voters, and of course, not just the middle socioeconomically, but the middle of the country. And it's just getting bigger and bigger and bigger. So this is the problem that they have. Now, Kamala Harris, if you can believe it, thought the way to counter that advantage, this massive advantage, was to pick tampon Tim Walz to go with Tiananmen Tim. He's a Midwesterner. She thought he's a folksy guy. He's a white male in his 60s. Apparently he likes to hunt, so they say. So they now realize, as they are bleeding men, especially white men, black and Latino male voters, it's now getting to the point that it's going to sink her entire campaign. Who do they roll out as the embodiment, the paragon of masculinity? I'm not making this up. Tim Walz. And how do they do it? They did this ridiculous campaign photo shoot with the media slavishly following them. And there's Tim Walz with his orange vest, his orange cap. He looked like Elmer Fudd. I'm telling you, like a mirror image of Elmer Fudd. And this weekend, Elmer Fudd went pheasant hunting. But there was a problem. There was a problem with Tim Walz. Roll cut 14A. Mike.
Yeah. That's my theory. And it never fits quite right. Never fits quite right. Just not quite right. How do you give it back?
Governor, what kind of gun is it?
This is a Beretta A400. I bought it when I was shooting a lot of trap because it has a kind of their patented thing, a kickoff. So when you get old, it doesn't hurt your shoulder as much.
And he's walking. Now, you can't see it, right? You can only hear it. But you hear that clanking in the background, like clink, 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 clink. He can't put in shotgun shells for the pheasant hunting. I'm telling you, can't make this up. It's a photo op. All the media's there. He's in his ridiculous outfit, the orange vest, the orange cap. There's Elmer Fudd. And he doesn't know how to put shotgun shells into the shotgun. That blew up. People were laughing at him on social media. I guess you're not that much of a hunter, huh, Tampon Tim? You don't even know how to open and close your own shotgun and put in the shotgun shells. Here, I'm going to play it again. Listen for the clanking. Because what you see is he's like struggling with the gun. Like he can't open the shotgun. Like, he's got to put it, he's holding shells in one hand and he's trying to open the shotgun. And it's like this darn thing. It just won't open. How does this work again? How does this work again? Play it again, Mike. 14A.
Yeah. That's my theory.
And it never fits quite right.
Never fits quite right. Just not quite right. How do you give it back?
Governor, what kind of gun is it?
This is a Beretta A400. I bought it when I was shooting a lot of trap because it has a kind of their patented thing, a kickoff. So when you get old, it doesn't hurt your shoulder as much.
Were you able to open it 20 years ago? I mean, that's the, there's that hack journalist trying to rescue him. What kind of a gun is it, Governor? Let's just talk about anything but the obvious fact. You can't put shotgun shells into your own shotgun. I mean, the obvious question is, Governor, why are you having a hard time putting the shells into the shotgun? Now, as I said on X, please, you have to listen now to what I'm saying. Everybody, I'm begging you, stop what you're doing. Please listen to this. Kamala Harris picked Tim Walz. Obviously. He is the worst VP pick in American history. He's stupid. He's an incorrigible liar. You all know this. He watched his own city of Minneapolis, St. Paul burn to the ground while he was governor from Black Lives Matter and Antifa rioters in 2020 and did nothing. In fact, he welcomed it. He is a traitor with clear, deep ties to the Chinese communist regime. This is now indisputable. He is an agent of Beijing. He has been a disaster for Kamala. Now remember, she picked him. That was her first choice as a presidential candidate. And her most important. Well, here it comes. On social media, it is now buzzing with allegations. Again, they're allegations. So far, they have not been corroborated. They have not been verified. But the Walz camp and the Kamala Harris camp are petrified that this is now going to be made public and that this is going to become the story that will dominate the campaign for the next 3 weeks. A former teenage student of his has told multiple people on social media, and already now a couple of stories have been written in certain media outlets, that there was sexual abuse involved, a la Jerry Sandusky. In fact, that's his nickname now among many of his former students. They now call him Jerry Sandusky. Who's Jerry Sandusky? That name should ring a bell. Remember, he was the assistant football coach at Penn State University under then legendary coach Joe Paterno. And he had numerous inappropriate showers with boys at the Penn State facility. He was molesting kids. And Joe Paterno ended up losing his job because he deliberately turned a blind eye, and Sandusky ended up going to jail. Well, the allegation, the explosive allegation, is that Walz took a student, at the time one of his students, to a gay bar, and then to a concert, and then took that boy to his home, in which, how do I say this, inappropriate sexual relations took place. That is, again, it is uncorroborated so far, unverified. But it is buzzing. It is everywhere. And apparently now the shoe is going to drop. They have located this teenage, or then the teenage boy. He's no longer obviously a teenage boy. And furthermore, this is the reason why Walz was forced to leave teaching. That the school board basically kicked him out. That's the reason why he moved on in his career. And by the way, he was never the coach of the high school football team. He was an unpaid volunteer assistant coach. Now, if this comes out, and it is on the verge of coming out, apparently from what I read last night, big story, Trump's people have already sent investigators to talk with this alleged victim. And if they can get that person to come out with their story, or if they can verify and corroborate certain aspects of the story, the gay bar, the concert, the school board, and why he was removed as a teacher, if they can corroborate or verify any of this, they will then hold a press conference, and they will blow this story wide open. Now, as I told Grace last night, again, if true, okay? If true, everybody is innocent until proven guilty. But if it is true, Tim Walz is finished. The Kamala campaign is completely finished. Because she picked him. She picked him. And if you pick this disaster as your vice president, and if this is an example of your executive skills and executive capabilities, my God, what will you do to the country? Kamala Harris, Tim Walz, they are on the verge of destruction. 7:48 on the great WRKO. Jeff Kuhner, Boston's Bulldozer. 617-266-6868 is the number. Okay, to show you now how desperate the liberal media is getting in trying to protect Kamala Harris and try to block or stunt Trump's momentum in the polls. Here is a local story. It's gone national. Okay, we've really now, the Republic of Massachusetts, we're tied now with California. We've done it. You know how things start in California and they become national stories? That's us now. That's the People's Republic of Massachusetts. We now match them blow for blow when it comes to who's the crazier moonbat state. So it's like a nuclear arms race. We just, they go crazier, we go crazier. They go even more crazier, we go even more crazier. So, I'm just, the Boston Globe. I mean, it's everywhere, but I'm just going to quote the Boston Globe, okay? Apparently now, listen to this. A resident in Hanson projected, like a light projection, projected Trump, just the words Trump, in headline, at the Hanson water tower. That's all the person did. So, you got the water tower in Hanson, and using, light projected Trump. 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 That's it. Because you're going to be saying, Jeff, what's the big deal? I'm telling you, I swear to you, that's it. Well, listen to this now. The Moonbats in Hanson, the radical Democrats in Hanson, now the city has now issued a cease and desist order against this Hanson resident. And not only, listen to this, okay, not only have they issued the cease and desist order, but WBZ, I don't mean WBZ radio. I want to be very clear about this, our sister station. It has nothing to do with them. I'm talking WBZ TV, the CBS News Boston affiliate. In their coverage of the story, they actually removed the image from the water tower. You can't make this up. So there's the story. It's everywhere now. It's gone viral. You can see the water tower. There are trees right underneath it. And it says, Trump, Trump. It's a light projection. Well, no. WBZ did a big story, headline, political message illegally projected onto Massachusetts town water tower. But then they take out the message Trump. They edited it out. Because God forbid, I'm not kidding, they don't want anybody to know that there's actual support for the evil orange man in Massachusetts. And not only now has Hansen sent a cease and desist order, but listen to this, under pressure from the Boston Globe, from the local media, from Maura Healey, from the Democrats, from the DNC themselves. The town is now exploring legal penalties against the guy. And they want to propose, this is now their proposal, they want to fine him $100 a day for projecting light onto the tower that says Trump. For projecting a Trump light onto the tower, the Trump logo, whatever you want to call it, onto the tower. They want to financially ruin and bankrupt this guy. Now, a couple of quick points, and then I want to go right back to you. Number one, and I know this for a fact, they are projecting Kamala Harris signs, Kamala Harris, all over this state. It's in the sky. It's on buildings. It's on water towers. It's everywhere. Okay, everywhere. So this idea, we can't have a Trump projection on a water tower. That's illegal campaigning. We can't have that. Bullcrap. 1,000% unadulterated bull you-know-what. Yeah, it's a city water tower. That's their argument, okay? So, that's number one. Number two, are you that afraid? Are you that afraid? You're going to destroy this man and financially ruin him over projecting a Trump light on a lousy, dinky Hansen water tower? This is how much you fear him? This is how afraid they are. They don't want people to know. See, they want to delegitimize Trump. They want to make it seem Trump equals Hitler. To put Trump anywhere is the equivalent of a Nazi swastika. That it's hate speech. To just say you support Trump is hate speech. Now, let me go right back to Tim Walz, okay? Tampon Tim, who may be getting a very new nickname soon. If this alleged abused teenager, former student, comes out, we shall see. So who knows? He may get some more nicknames. But let's stick with the one that we have. Here's Tiananmen Tim. Now, I want you to listen to this. This is him on Fox with Shannon Bream, where she asks him, you want to now make illegal, you want to openly censor anything that you and the Democrats believe is quote-unquote misinformation, as the Russians put it, misinformatio, or hate speech. But who defines hate speech? Who defines misinformation? Roll cut 15. Mike.
You've said there's no guarantee to free speech for misinformation or hate speech. But first of all, Supreme Court very clear in a unanimous 2017 decision that hate speech is protected. That's the kind of stuff that needs to be protected, stuff none of us like to hear. But more importantly, who gets to decide on the issue of what misinformation is?
Look, the First Amendment is foundational. It's something I spent my whole life, the vice president, and I think most Americans are clear on this. The point being on this, we're seeing censorship coming in the form of book bannings in different places. We're seeing it attempts in schools. The issue on this is the hate speech and the protected hate speech. Speech that's aimed at creating violence, speech that's aimed at threats to individuals. And that's what we're talking about in this. And the decision on that, society decides on a lot of this. The idea of someone going on and threatening someone's life or a child's life online, I don't think any of your viewers think that is something that should be acceptable.
I mean, there's a distinction, you would say, though, between something like a threat and misinformation.
Oh, certainly, and that's what we're talking about.
No, see, now he's trying to skedaddle his way out of it. No. Voting for Trump is hate speech. Supporting Trump is hate speech. By the way, you know what he considers misinformation? When you challenged his lockdowns in Minnesota. That was literally, he said, no. When people like me said, you think it's going to be 2 weeks to flatten the curve? Maybe 2 years. Hate speech. Mask mandates don't work. Misinformation. Vaccine mandates don't work. Misinformation. That there are side effects for some people to the vaccines. Misinformation. Closing down schools will be a disaster for the kids and their cognitive and learning abilities. Misinformation. So, when you call them out and challenge them and dissent from them, no matter how accurate or truthful you are, misinformation, or I support Donald Trump, hate, ban it, censor it. That's what they're doing now at the Hansen Water Tower. It's Trump. It's the equivalent of putting a Nazi swastika or saying Hitler. This is how insane these people have become. This is how radical they are, how extreme they are. So, let me get this straight. Now you're telling us it's a crime to put out a Trump sign? Or to say you support Trump? And I know they're going to make the argument, it's a city water tower. Yeah? I can show you city building after city building after city building where there are Harris signs or Harris projections all across this state. Nobody cares. Nobody gives a damn. And the real reason? They want to make it seem that Trump has zero to no support. That's why it is to silence us and is to manipulate and lie to the people of Massachusetts. Nobody votes for this guy. He's a Nazi. He's a white supremacist. He's an insurrectionist. Even in Massachusetts, I'm telling you, there is an army of Trump supporters. And I'm urging everybody, put your signs out. Put stickers on your bumpers. Go out and vote. It doesn't matter whether we win or not in Massachusetts. Now we're on the cusp of winning the popular vote. We win the popular vote, we destroy any argument the Democrats may have to try to claim Trump is illegitimate. And that's why the Democrats are now panicking. The last shred, scintilla they can hang on to, the last straw is, okay, he may have won the Electoral College, but he lost the popular vote. So he's not really legitimate. And we have to get rid or abolish the Electoral College. This time, we don't just win the Electoral College. Let's win the national popular vote. Then they have nothing to say. Nothing. 617-266-6868. Let me throw this log on the fire. Should the Trump projection light be banned? And WBZ TV, they now edit out Trump in images that they placed on their TV segment when they covered this story. They edited out Trump's name from the water tower because according to them, even seeing Trump could trigger people who watch Their viewers, oh my God, Trump's name. No. Trump. Ah. Like a cross or garlic to Dracula. No. WBZ TV should be ashamed of themselves. Ashamed of themselves. Pure state media. Pure political propaganda. Carolina in Woburn. Thanks for holding, Carolina, and welcome.
Hi, how are you, Jeff?
I'm good. How are you, Carolina?
Good, thanks. I was watching Benny Johnson, who has a podcast, and his guest was Mike Benz, who I believe worked for Trump in 2016, and he said the only way the government will ever allow Trump back in the White House is if Trump were to agree not to cross certain red lines in the sand. So pretty much having his hands tied behind his back.
Well, I'm not surprised. I think they're probably sending out feelers to him as you and I speak. Look, you can't put Hillary behind bars. You can't put Joe Biden behind bars. You can't put Hunter Biden behind bars. You can't put James Comey behind bars. In other words, I think they're going to try to work out a deal where some of the regime's leading figures and top criminals are not sent to jail. And if Trump gives them enough assurances, then maybe they'll let him come back to power. We'll see. Now, that's up to Trump. I'm not privy to these negotiations. I'm not there in the room with him. I believe honesty is always the best policy. To me, I'm sorry, that's just the way I am. It's the way I'm built. If you have committed serious crimes, and we're talking treason and sedition. We're talking spying on campaigns. We're talking about framing a man as being an agent of Russia and colluding with Russia when everybody knew that was a monstrous lie. We have the CIA engaged in a coup. That's what 2020 was. It was a coup. All of those 51 intelligence officials that signed that letter that said Hunter Biden's laptop was not real, that it was a Russian disinformation job. Many of those people who signed that letter were working for the CIA at the time. They were CIA contractors. It wasn't just ex-intelligence people. No, they were working at the time. They were taking a check from the CIA. The CIA engaged in a coup to overthrow the government of the United States, i.e. Donald Trump's government. And they deliberately lied and misled and manipulated the American people. And Carolina, I don't want to get sidetracked, but the opinion polls on this have been consistent. Millions and millions and millions of voters said, had they knew before the election what they know now about what's in the Hunter Biden laptop, they would have either voted for Trump or some of them would not have voted for Biden. They probably just wouldn't have voted. And every poll says Trump would have won in a massive landslide. The CIA overthrew Donald Trump and interfered directly in our elections to rig it and steal it for Joe Biden. Now, I'm sorry. You got to go to jail for that, man. Or else this monster is going to be living in the shadows forever. So if I were Trump, I would say no deals. But look, I'm not him. I don't have the lawfare breathing down my neck. I don't have assassination attempts now. It's like once a week. There was another one, as I said, in Coachella, in California, just over the weekend. And by the way, they let him out on bail. Carolina, this is the thing that's most incredible. They catch the guy. He's got illegal firearms on him. Shotgun, handguns, illegal. stalking the president. He came close to the rally. His goal was to blow his head off. Law enforcement arrests him. The sheriff comes out and says, I'm not going to cover this up. This was now a third assassination attempt. And the Democrats are flooding money, and they got him released on bail. So what? He could try to kill the president again? So, look, I'm not Donald Trump. I don't live with a daily threat of somebody, assassinating me. So, I don't know. I mean, I don't know what you do in his shoes. But if I were him, I'd say no deals. Period. No. I'm going, I'm in the school of, in for a penny, in for a pound. When you're in, and you don't stop. But I wouldn't be surprised if there were negotiations going on. There's no question. They want him dead. And they want our movement dead. And they're now petrified. There's too many of us. We're too popular. We're too big. It reminds me in many ways of the Berlin Wall coming down. It's people power. And now they're going to try to manage this. If I were Trump, go for their throat. No compromise, no surrender. What say you, Carolina?
Trump.
I'm sorry, could you repeat that, Carolina?
Trump needs to be Trump.
In other words, no deal.
Correct.
I'm with you. I'm with you, Carolina. Carolina, thank you so much for that call. I really appreciate it. By the way, just a really good text. You can text us 70470, 70470. This is from 617. Jeff, the left considers graffiti to be high art, but projecting light is a thought crime? Yep. Yep, that's WBZ TV, that's the Boston Globe, that's Maura Healey, and that's the town of Hanson for you. Rich in Natick. Thanks for holding, Rich, and welcome.
Jeff, it was a big water tower, a beautiful water tower, a water tower like nobody's ever seen before.
Yeah, you do Trump very well. I got to tell you that.
The Harris campaign is drowning, and the Trump campaign's throwing them manhole covers. I mean, it's Trump's going to win. Jeff, are you sitting down?
Go ahead, my friend.
Jeff, I thought I was hallucinating. And listen up, Bill in Sudbury. I was driving through Sudbury the other day, and I looked over and I saw a yard sign, and it said, Democrats for Trump. Jeff, I almost went off the road. My head did a 180. I couldn't believe it. So they're not all delusional. There's at least one that's come to their senses, besides Kennedy and Tulsi Gabbard. But, yeah, first time I've ever seen a sign like that.
You know, Rich, I got to tell you, I think even in Massachusetts, I think Trump is going to surprise people. I'm not saying he's going to win. Don't get me wrong. But I think that's why that whole Hanson story is popping all over the country. They're gonna be shocked. It's going to be much closer than people think, because a lot of blue collar voters are going to switch over to Trump. A lot of union people are going to vote for Trump. I'm not talking just around the country. I mean, here in Massachusetts, I think a lot of Democrats who maybe won't be as, open about it as what you saw, but privately they're going to look left, they're going to look right, and they're going to check the box for Trump. And so I think this election is going to be closer in California. I mean, look, 100 to 150,000 people at his rally in California. That's no joke. So I think California is going to be closer than people think. Massachusetts is going to be closer than people think. So New York is now almost neck and neck. In New York and New Jersey, Trump is now within striking distance. Holy mackerel. So it's like a ship. It's now leaking everywhere. Everywhere. She's lost the mail vote. She's lost the working class vote. She's now losing black men, Latino men, Asian men. Forget white men. She's lost white men. She's now bleeding among young voters. And now she's starting to lose even many hardcore Democrats. She's going down. You can lose a little here. You can lose a little there. You can't be losing on every single front. And then turn around and then steal it and expect us to say, oh yeah, she won it fair and square. Rich, I would not want to be Comrade Kamala today because things do not look good. Let's put it that way. Rich, thank you very, very much for your call. This is from 508. Jeff, thankfully, WBZ-TV is protecting you from dangerous political messages. They removed the image, the name of Trump from the water tower in their coverage. Yep, they're protecting us. Oh my God. Evil Orange Man. Why do I have to see his name? No! 8:20 on the great WRKO. Jeff Kuhner, Boston's Bulldozer, 617-266-6868 is the number. Many of you are reacting, at least on the text line, about that. It just is an unbelievable story in Hanson. I'm telling you, Fox is going to be covering it. Newsmax is going to be covering it. This thing is going to go viral. Mark my words. So, as 781 put it, Jeff, all that person had to do, who's projecting the light of Trump, Trump's name on the Hanson Water Tower, Jeff, all he needs to do is adjust the light to say Black Lives Matter, and he'll be fine. Now, 781 he or she is completely right. If someone was blasting BLM projection light onto the Hanson Water Tower, do you think the city of Hanson, do you think the Boston Globe, do you think WBZ-TV, do you think Maura Healey, Hold It Healey, the governor, would be going apoplectic? How can you be doing that? You got to take it down. We got to find that person. We got to issue fines, cease and desist orders. You think WBZ-TV would cover up BLM in their coverage, edit it out? They can't see BLM. They just can't see it. Our viewers, my God, they may go blind. Honestly, pathetic. Just pathetic. Absolutely pathetic. One more, and then I want to go right back to the phone lines. This is from 603. Jeff, here's a couple of points on the Hanson Water Tower. It's not like this guy climbed up and spray painted Trump across this tower where they could charge him for defacing public property. It's freaking light, Jeff. There's nothing physical there. It's no different than the sunlight hitting the tower at sunrise. If he shuts off the projector, the image goes away. No harm, no foul. Second point, okay, this water tower is a city water tower, i.e. public property. Isn't this man a tax-paying resident of Hanson? And didn't his tax dollars pay for this tower and its upkeep? Like you said, the powers that be don't want people to know that MAGA is alive and well, even in the state of Massachusetts. Bingo. That's what this is all about. You know it. I know it. Everybody knows it. Bob in Raynham. Thanks for holding, Bob, and welcome.
Hey, Jeff. How's it going?
I'm doing great. How are you, Bob?
Good. First of all, I will personally raise the money myself for that guy in Hanson for any fines he accrues. And I'm sure your listenership would chip in gladly to continue what he's doing. Secondly, when I drive by these Harris Wall signs in this state, I try to figure out, like, how could anyone really put that sign on their lawn? But I think what we're up against, I call them the killer bees. You got the bottom feeders who are never going to give up their check. You got the bloodsuckers that feed off of the bottom feeders that have all these phony jobs that quote-unquote help these people, which it doesn't help them. All they do is keep them in their despair. Now we get the border crossers who, again, the bloodsuckers love because, again, whereas we see it as a burden to society and a burden to our kids and grandkids and everything, they see it as another boondoggle to create more phony jobs to, again, quote-unquote, help people. And, then you get the baby killers who are always going to vote, oh, my God, they're going to take my right away to kill my baby. And, I guess that covers it all. But it's like, back in the day, the Republican Party was all about keeping the government small, and now I see why. You can't have it ballooning so that you have all these phony agencies and phony jobs that are feasting off of all the despair that they actually cause. It's like a plumber going into a house, last night, ripping out all the plumbing in the house and then knocking on the door this morning and saying, hey, you need help fixing your pipes? I mean, this is what these people are doing. It's unbelievable.
Well, Bob, you remember Reagan's famous line. It was a brilliant line. It was true. It was completely accurate. He said the scariest words in the English language. I'm from the government, and I'm here to help. And, Reagan said, when you hear that, don't walk, run. Just run. Because they're going to destroy you and your family. And that's what we're seeing right now in front of our eyes. And I believe that's going to be the major reason why Trump wins in November. Bob, thank you so much for that call. I really appreciate it. 617-266-6868. More with your calls next. WRKO, Jeff Kuhner, Boston's Bulldozer. 617-266-6868 is the number. Hillary in the great state of Maryland. Thanks for holding, Hillary, and welcome.
Thank you, Jeff. I love you so much in a non-sexual way. As always.
Thank you, Hillary.
I just called to tell you that. No, actually, I called for another reason. If it's okay, I wanted to maybe pose a question, maybe place a comment about, I think one of your last callers, I believe her name was Caroline.
Carolina, Carolina.
Carolina. Who said that she listened to that show whereby a Trump insider said that, they, and I'd really like to know who they are. I mean, I have an idea, I feel like our country is definitely run by oligarchs, but they would let him, in air quotes, be president if he made certain concessions. And, I mean, isn't this the problem? I mean, if he does that, he's just as corrupt as they are. I mean, if he does that, what good is he? You've talked before about how Trump made mistakes in the past by making deals with, the inside Washington crowd. And as president, and also, what he's promised, but as president, he's duty bound to make sure that people that, break the law are held to account. So if we're just going to get more of the same, I just don't think that's a very good sign. I mean, I've often feared that's the case. I was kind of mad at Trump for, not being a little bit more hardcore the first time around. And it seems like he's soft-pedaling things even more now. Now, I don't know if what this, lady said was true, but I suspect that it probably is. But if he acquiesces to this, I don't think we can be so cavalier about, well, I'm not him and, my life's not threatened. And, I mean, all that, is true, but that's irrelevant. If he wants to be the president of the United States, I mean, the good book doesn't tell you to do what's right, except if your life is threatened or except if, it's inconvenient or uncomfortable. I mean, we're supposed to do what's right, let the chips fall where they may. And, Trump has been promising that that's what we're going to get. And it's kind of blackpilling to hear that, you know, something like this would even be considered, although I've suspected that's the case, and I think that probably will be the case. So I wanted to just get your thoughts on that.
Well, no, Hillary, to me, what's significant about that, I haven't heard anything that Trump is willing to make a deal. In fact, I'm hearing the exact opposite. Trump can't stand them. He loathes them. He hates them. And he wants to destroy them. And he really means what he says. He goes, look, this is the final battle. He's not just saying that for public consumption in private. He keeps it at lunch, at dinner. It doesn't matter. With his own wife, with his children. This is the final battle. There's only one side that can be left standing. So he knows you make a deal with them, you're making a deal with a scorpion. You're going to get stung. They're going to kill you. So I don't believe the fact that they sent feelers out to him, I don't think is his fault. No, what it shows to me, Hillary, is the exact opposite. If they're sending feelers out to him, what this tells me is three things. One, their strategy of lawfare has failed because it looks like they're not going to put him behind bars. Two, they're worried now that the assassination attempts may not work or that they may turn him into a martyr should they do kill him. And three, and most importantly, they can't steal the election. That Kamala Harris, they now fear Kamala Harris is going down. It would be the equivalent of, think of this, you're running, say, a guerrilla insurgency. Okay, here, you're George Washington. You're leading a patriotic insurgency against a corrupt dictatorial regime. And top military generals and officials are now sending feelers to you saying, we're open to a settlement. We're open to a ceasefire. But will you promise you won't hang us all? Well, what you get from that is they're losing and they fear the war is lost. And now they're all trying to save their rear ends. So that to me is the significance of that. And that's another reason. I mean, there's many. I don't want to bore everybody with all the details about why the Trump team feels so good about November. And Kamala's team is, there's no other word for it, utterly depressed about November 5th. But the rats are starting to abandon the sinking ship. And now it's everyone for themselves. They're trying to save their lives, their careers, and keep themselves out of jail. Now, if I were Trump, again, I don't know. It's not that I'm weaseling out, Hillary. It's just that I don't know all the circumstances. I don't know everything that's going on. But my advice to him is no deal. Don't make a deal with the devil. We know they're going to sabotage or try to sabotage his second term. There's no question. So why make a deal with them? It's like, appeasing Hitler or appeasing Stalin. You can't appease these people. So don't cut a single deal. Tell them, go fly a kite. Go pound sand. Get ready. I'm coming for you. That would be my response. What say you, Hillary?
It puts a different light on it that I hadn't thought about, and it makes sense. I just hope that that's the case. I guess it's just that, I hope that he goes after the people that might be trying to press him. And these people are such criminals, and there's been so much corruption. If he doesn't, he would not be serving justice if he doesn't go through with it. And if he doesn't go through with it, then what is the point of Trump winning is my point, I guess. It's like, what good is he? If he's not going to do
you're right. No, you're right. Look, Hillary, you're 100, as usual. You're not 100. You're 1,000% correct. Now, look, I don't have a crystal ball. I mean, I can't look into the future. But look, I just want you to look at it from his point of view. Why wouldn't he go after them? They've tried to bankrupt him. They sent the FBI to raid his home with shoot to kill orders for him, his wife, and his son. They tried to take him off the ballot. They've tried to jail him, bankrupt him, destroy his family business, imprison him for 500 years, and now literally assassinate and murder him. Not once, not twice, but after this weekend now, a third time. And that's just the tip of the iceberg. So, look, I can say, okay, I'm not violating any confidences. Let me phrase it this way. His two sons, Don Jr. and Eric Trump, have told their father, not that Trump is backtracking, they just have conversations. Don Jr. and Eric Trump, his two boys, his two sons, have said, Dad, you better get every single one of these SOBs. I'm cleaning up the language. Or we will never forgive you. In other words, his children are saying, what they've done to us, to our family, to you. Eric Trump has, said, I know there are other things that have been told to me, okay? So I can't, but I know that what he said in public is this. I live in fear of assassination now every day. My wife lives in fear of assassination every day. My children, we are petrified they're going to be abducted, kidnapped, killed, or molested every single day. Our family lives in terror every single day. We want every single one of them. We're going to bury every single one of them for what they've done to us. So that's why I say I can't guarantee anything, but it's 99.99999% sure Trump is going to hunt all of them down. And I don't know if you heard this. I thought he was going to go with Whitaker for Attorney General, who I think would be an excellent Attorney General. No, Trump is now floating the idea he wants Kash Patel. If anything, Kash Patel is even more of a rabid anti-deep stater. You want to talk about someone who hates and loathes the deep state and wants to wage a political jihad against them. It's Kash Patel. So, from everything I'm hearing, Hillary, it's not that he's backtracking. He's getting ready for the mother of all wars once he wins. And his family and his children are urging him, almost pressing him to do it. So, Hillary, look, on that score, I would not be worried. I don't know if I've answered your question or not.
You have, and it makes me feel better. I just kind of get worried, but thank you, Jeff.
Well, we got it just 3 more weeks. Hillary, I swear, what I would give to have this election today, Honestly, I don't know what I'm going to do election night. I'm just going to be pacing, walking, Anyway, Hillary, thank you very, very much for that call. And look, I'm going to throw another log on the fire, not right after this break. I want to take more calls, but at about 9 o'clock. And you're going to want to hear it. Trust me. How much time left, Mike? Okay. You're going to want to hear this. Trust me, because I think it also explains why Trump is getting another boost and another surge in the polls. And it's something the Democrats, the media, and the Kamala team did not see coming. 8:49 on the great WRKO. Jeff Kuhner, Boston's Bulldozer. 617-266-6868 is the number. Okay, it's the Kuhner Country poll question of the day, sponsored by Mario's. Mario's Quality Roofing, Siding, and Windows. Who do you think best represents working class people? Is it A, the Republicans? A, the Democrats, forgive me. B, the Republicans, especially under Donald Trump. C, neither. Who do you think best defends the interests of working class people? A, Democrats. B, Republicans, especially under Trump. C, neither. And the reason why we're asking the question is that working class voters, whether they be white, brown, black, Asian, it doesn't matter, are now fleeing to the Republican banner under Donald J. Trump. He is literally transforming the GOP into a working class party. 617-266-6868. You can vote on our webpage, wrko.com/Kuhner, wrko.com/Kuhner, KUHN is in National ER. You can also vote via X. My handle there, at the Kuhner Report, all one word, KUHN is in National ER. Derek in Brighton. Thanks for holding, Derek, and welcome.
Jeff, I wanted to ask if the Republicans have a slim majority in the House, can they certify the election, or do they have to wait for a new Congress to be sworn in January? And and they retain the House.
Yeah, they have to wait for a new Congress to be sworn in. And the new Congress is sworn in. Don't quote me on this, Derek. It's either January 4th or January 5th. But it's much earlier. It's weeks before the president is sworn in. So they do it in early January. That's why top Democrats were telling Axios, we regain control of the House. It'll be a new Congress. We're going to be sworn in, and we're going to block Trump. That's why we need to give Trump a full mandate. Don't just vote for him. Vote for Republicans right down the ballot to give him a majority in the House, a majority in the Senate, and then we cut the Democrats off at the pass, and then there's nothing, literally there's nothing that they can do.
Now, well, what about Kamala Harris? Now, what if they try to pull some shenanigans? Let's say Trump gets enough electoral votes in the electoral college. He has to get 270. Well, let's say he gets more than that, but doesn't Kamala Harris have to have anything to do with that? Like Pence did, the Judas Pence that backstabbed Trump. Now, what if she pulls some shenanigans and tries to have different electoral, the people
send in different electoral slates, from the states, the different electoral slates, or refuses to certify the election. Mike Pence was under pressure not to certify the election in 2020. She can't do that now. Congress passed a law following January 6th that now automatically forces the vice president basically to be a rubber stamp, to just certify the election. That's it. So by law, she's now prohibited. So if Trump wins the Electoral College and the Republicans retain even a one-seat majority in the House, then there's nothing the Democrats can do. I actually don't believe they can do anything even if they win control of the House. I think it's going to blow up in their face. But there's no possibility. None. That's why I'm urging everybody. I know the Republican Party has betrayed us. I know they've abandoned us. I know they're composed of a bunch of yellow-livered, gutless cowards. I get it. Don't do it for them. Do it for Trump. And it's not just that it'll guarantee him being inaugurated, Derek. It's that it then sets the table for him to pass his sweeping agenda within the first 100 days of his presidency. That's why, and Trump is going to outdo FDR. They've already got the bills pretty much written up. The pieces of legislation are almost ready to go. They're like planes lining up on the tarmac. One's going to take off, then the other. So Franklin Roosevelt, in his first term, his first 100 days, was considered the most sweeping, productive 100 days in the history of the United States. Trump says he's going to rival and top it. So he wants to fix so many of our country's problems within basically 4 months. And if he gets a majority in the House and the Senate, he can do it. So that's why I'm urging everybody, A, help Trump with the popular vote, even if you live in a blue state. That's going to be key. But more importantly, help him with those down ballot races. Derek, does that answer your question?
Yes, just one more question, Jeff. Are you going to be on during, have a special Kuhner report during election night?
I want to with every fiber in my being. Derek, I don't know what I'm going to do with myself on election night if I'm not on the air. But management has said no. So I'm going to try to take it up with management. And all I'm asking from management, if they're listening right now, Alan and Bill, don't pay me extra. I'll be working for free. Just give me one person to run the board and take the calls. That's it. That's all I'm asking for. I'm not asking for the world. And I will be on from 7 o'clock. I'd love to be on at 7 until whenever. I'm not kidding. Midnight, 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock in the morning. But I need management to free up one part-time person to help me out do the show. I don't want Sandy to come in because she's going to have to be fresh and ready the next morning, and Mike as well, because it's going to be an historic morning show, and they got to come in and do cuts and clips. And so I need management to free up one part-time worker, just one, and work with me throughout the night. If they do that, Derek, I give you my word, I will be on the air. But it's out of my hands.
Sure.
Thank you, Derek. I appreciate it, my friend. 617-266-6868. I swear, only me. I'm telling you, only me. Most people don't want to work for free. Most people don't want to do extra work. They're like, look, Jeff, we're not going to pay you more. You do election night coverage. You're getting paid the same no matter what. No. I want to work. I'll work 4 hours, 5 hours, 6 hours. It's okay. Can you spare one person? And they're like, yeah, the budget is tight and WBZ needs all hands on deck. And anyway, so they don't know if they can spare anybody, which is fine. If they can't, they can't. I mean, it is what it is. But if they can spare me one person, one board operator, that's all I need. Just put me on the air and just take calls. I would love to be on the air, but it's ultimately now out of my hands. 617-266-6868. Wayne in Florida. Thanks for holding, Wayne, and welcome.
Free, such an honor. Finally, after 3 more years. I have a quick point. The Hanson man can put Trump's name up there, but put Kamala's for equal time upside down under his name and protect them both equal for both parties. What do you think?
I'm sorry, Wayne. You kind of lost me a little bit. Can you just repeat that?
I say the Hanson man should project Trump's name with Kamala's name upside down underneath his. They got equal time. They can't come after him. And you're from Quebec. We're the indefatigables. Right?
That's right.
Not the deplorables. So, yeah, God bless you for all you do. I'll hang up and listen. Thank you.
Thank you, Wayne. I appreciate it. No, it's a political witch hunt. They're just going after this guy in Hanson because it's Trump. Everybody. I saw BLM signs on government buildings all over Massachusetts. Biden signs all over on government buildings in Massachusetts. I'm seeing Biden-Harris signs everywhere on government buildings all over Massachusetts. Come on. Let's not kid each other here. So 617-266-6868 is the number. Dan in New Hampshire. Thanks for holding, Dan, and welcome.
Thank you, Jeff. I'm very happy that it's going to be Cash Patel, quite frankly, because we need to get, I think Trump realizes we got to stay away from these Marxist, globalist Bush, Cheney Republicans, like and Ari Fleischer and Karl Rove. Quite frankly, I don't know if you know this, but J.D. Vance met with Karl Rove and Ari Fleischer and walked away when he realized how dirty they were. He walked away and he went to the 1776 pack. So that's why he's the VP. So that being said, we got to. I do disagree, and it's all right to disagree, right, Jeff? I'm not a big on Rick Scott. Okay, he's got a voting record of 70. AI PAC money, no, thank you. It's just no good for me, And that's Mike Johnson had AI PAC money, and that was the big thing that was really bothering me. And when that vote went unanimously, okay, that's what really you got to remember. Most of the Republicans are bought and paid for by the same globalist money. That's the problem here. So, and some of them get China money as well. So, we need to get away with it from that. And I think Trump is doing that. And that's what we need to do.
I agree. No, Dan, I agree with you. And look, who would I like? I'd like to see Josh Hawley, for example, be Senate Majority Leader. I think he'd be great. I'd love to see a true MAGA, America First conservative. All I'm just saying about Rick Scott, not that he's a great senator or the best thing since sliced bread. I agree with you. There's a lot of things about him I don't like. I think he'd be better than Mitch McConnell. He's also from Florida, which is a MAGA state. So that keeps a lot of pressure on him. So all I'm just saying is with Rick Scott, we can get stuff done. With Mitch McConnell, like with Paul Ryan, all they did was work night after day, night after night to sabotage Trump and undermine his first term. I think he's going to have a much more successful term. The first term was very successful, but I think his second term is going to be even better and greater than the first because you're right. He can see the Bushes and the Cheneys. And remember now, the Cheneys have really outed themselves. Dick Cheney has endorsed Kamala to his everlasting shame. Liz Cheney has endorsed Kamala to her everlasting shame. Karl Rove has essentially endorsed Kamala. I mean, he's neutral, but being neutral is a way of supporting her. George W. Bush, neutral. Mitt Romney is all but said he's endorsing Kamala. So I think that establishment, globalist rhino wing of the Republican Party has so exposed itself, and Trump has now really got them on the run, that I think he's going to finish him off in his second term. What say you, Dan?
Well, my pick would be Rand Paul because he's a perfect 100 score, 8+.
Yeah, he's excellent. Yeah, he'd be very good. Excellent. Excellent.
Rand Paul, and that's what we need. We need these America First guys, that perfect hundreds. Byron Donalds, Thomas Massey, Annaluna Paulina, Matt Gaetz, Gosar, Biggs, Crane, Lauren Boebert, Bishop in North Carolina, and Mark Robinson in North Carolina for governor. That's what we need, a real governor for North Carolina. Not these frauds like what we got left. The primary is the most important, Jeff, and that's where we missed the boat. We needed to expose and get better America First Republicans in the U.S. House and the U.S. Senate. I mean, now we're stuck with these John Rutherford. Are you kidding me? The guy that did illegal stock trading, and he's at the head of the committee and squashed his own investigation. Okay, and no figure. He's tied to the same people controlling Ron DeSantis. That's as simple as that. Karl Rove and Ari Fleischer and the Bushes and the Cheneys. That's what it is, Jeff. That's just the fact, okay? When you look at this, okay, Jeff, you got Victoria Nuland, okay, a U.S. diplomat for the Clintons, the Bushes, Obama, Biden. Victoria Nuland was even the head of American Century, also part of the money laundering Ukraine scandal. Okay.
Well, yeah, and Dan, just to bring it full circle, Victoria Nuland is a globalist Republican, very close to George W. Bush, very close to the Cheneys. And yet, as you pointed out, She worked in the Obama administration. She worked in the Biden administration. So you really see it's the uniparty. It's the ruling class. And that's the enemy of the American people. That's the enemy of the American nation and the American working and middle class. And that's what Trump is up against. And that's what he's in the process of now smashing and defeating. With our help, God willing. Thank you for that call, Dan. 617-266-6868 is the number. Okay, so here's another quick log on the fire. Why is Trump surging and doing so well? This is now the question, okay? Why? And there's many reasons, but let me add an extra reason. I believe it's J.D. Vance. As Dan, just to piggyback off of Dan's call, he said, J.D. Vance met with the Bushes and the Karl Roves and the Cheneys, and he's like, I want nothing to do with you, man. Your agenda of cheap foreign labor, open borders, unlimited third world illegal immigration, and never-ending wars. That's exactly why I'm in politics, to defeat all this. And J.D. Vance has turned in now into an absolute killer of a surrogate for Donald J. Trump. I mean, the guy, he's the Terminator. He's doing interview after interview, and whether it's on This Is CNN or the New York Times, he's been doing an interview. He did an interview with a reporter from the New York Times, and apparently they've released it now in chunks on their podcast. You want to talk about debating circles around that woman, crushing her, outmaneuvering her, intellectually rebuking her, eviscerating her again and again and again. It is a masterpiece. It's a masterclass. And I want you to listen now to this exchange with Martha Raddatz from ABC News, because it was another masterclass. So here's Martha Raddatz, and to set the context, Trump goes to Aurora, Colorado. And in Aurora, Colorado, again, in front of a packed rally, I mean, it was packed, he announced Operation Aurora, that when he becomes president of the United States, he is going to launch the greatest deportation of illegal criminal gangs in the history of the United States. And in fact, he said, I give you my pledge. Every illegal criminal gang, every illegal alien criminal network will be dismantled, destroyed, and deported. Every one of them. MS-13, gone. The Venezuelan gang, Tren de Aragua, however you pronounce it, gone. It doesn't matter. The Mexican drug cartels, gone. And of course, he mentioned how these Venezuelan criminal gangs, these illegals, have been taking over apartment complexes after apartment complexes, to the point that Aurora, Colorado is now essentially invaded and occupied, or at least parts of it, occupied territory. Martha Raddatz on ABC News, because that's their job, they're Trump assassins, goes after J.D. Vance and says, how dare the president talk like this? That's not true. The mayor of Colorado came out and said, there's no invasion in Aurora. It's not occupied territory. It hasn't been conquered. Trump is exaggerating and fear-mongering. And J.D. Vance turns around and says, well, actually, no. The problem is not Trump. The problem is you. Roll cut 16. Mike.
What we're hearing, of course, Martha, is that people are terrified by what has happened with some of these Venezuelan gangs.
Senator Vance, I'm going to stop you because I know exactly what happened. Martha. I'm going to stop you. The incidents were limited to a handful of apartment complexes, and the mayor said our dedicated police officers have acted on those concerns. A handful of problems.
Only, Martha, do you hear yourself? Only a handful of apartment complexes in America were taken over by Venezuelan gangs, and Donald Trump is the problem and not Kamala Harris's open border? Americans are so fed up with what's going on, and they have every right to be. And I really find this exchange, Martha, sort of interesting because you seem to be more focused with nitpicking everything that Donald Trump has said rather than acknowledging that apartment complexes in the United States of America are being taken over by violent gangs.
He crushed her. I mean, literally on social media, people were laughing at her. Like, only 6 apartment complexes have been taken over. By the way, have you seen the images where they go door to door, floor to floor after floor with guns, drawn to the heads, pointed at the heads of tenants? And then clearing them out and forcing them out of their own apartment complexes. And they're running drugs, they're running extortion rackets, sex trafficking, prostitution, human trafficking. And she's saying, it's only 6 apartment complexes. Vance crushed it. On the great WRKO, Jeff Kuhner, Boston's Bulldozer, 617-266-6868. So, super quick, because I want to go back to the blazing phone lines. 617-266-6868. You heard, I played the clip. You heard the clip of J.D. Vance debating circles around Martha Raddatz. And he's been doing this now the entire campaign. Trump in private is saying, I've never met a more effective advocate or surrogate for me, MAGA, or the America First movement than J.D. Vance. To say that he's thrilled with his pick is an understatement. Now, why am I mentioning all this? Because what is starting to happen, and I've never seen this before, is you now have growing numbers of people, Republicans, independents, and yes, Democrats, openly saying, I am going to vote for Trump in 2024 because I really, really, really like J.D. Vance. And it's not just that he's going to be the VP. I really, really, really want to see him become president in 2028. So he is doing such a brilliant job of championing, articulating, espousing America First principles and ideals, securing the border, ending these disastrous free trade deals, stopping these endless wars in the Middle East and in Russia and Ukraine, bringing back manufacturing and industry, helping to increase the wages, real take-home pay for middle working class Americans, have real law and order in the country. In other words, to finally put America and Americans first. That it's electrified a segment of the electorate to vote for Trump because they want JD in the White House advising Trump as his right-hand man, but more importantly even to catapult JD into the White House in 2028. Tim Walz for Kamala Harris, not so much. 617-266-6868 is the number. Agree, disagree. Brenda in Beverly. Thanks for holding, Brenda, and welcome.
Happy Christopher Columbus Day, Jeff.
Happy Columbus Day, Brenda.
I have a couple of things, and one is a little bit off topic, but it fits the content of the entire conversation. You triggered me, and I'm not one to be triggered like someone with Trump derangement syndrome, but you did trigger me when you used Mitch McConnell's name, and I wanted you and the audience, perhaps you already know this, I was watching Levin on Saturday night, and Ted Cruz was basically begging
that might be a strong word, but like he kept repeating, TedCruz.org, Ted Cruz. Mitch McConnell hasn't given him a lick of money, and that fits with what you were speaking with previously about the ruling class, the elites, the Bushies, the Cheneys, the whole crew. The guy with the poster board on Fox News, I can't think of his name. He always writes it down.
Karl Rove.
Karl Rove. And so this is what we're up against. In terms of what just happened with Martha Raddatz, who I can remember quite clearly laughing at 2:45 in the morning while she was crying in 2016 because they had announced that Trump had won. She's got a screw loose. They're so blinded by their ideology, Jeff. I mean, how would Martha like it? How would she like it if she lived in that apartment complex or had a relative living? They don't think that way. There's a disconnect. And in terms of what's just happened, again with JD and with Trump, it all comes back to something I remember years ago when I used to be a solid listener of Michael Savage. Trump has tapped into this brilliantly. Borders, language, and culture. Those three things, he's hit them all. So when somebody asks you, like, whoa, I can't believe you're voting for Trump. Like, I live in a highly Democratic neighborhood, and it's like, it's so simple. How was your wallet a few years ago? Look at the economy. I mean, how do you not see the crime? It's everywhere. I guess it's not everywhere if it's not affecting you and you live in a gated community like Martha Raddatz. They live in a little bubble. They're insulated. But it's so obvious right now. And all I can do is that I'm on a praying siege that he hits not only the electorate and blows that away, but he wins the popular vote. So it's an undeniable victory, and that we can take their jaws whatever day it will be and say, can I take your jaw and put it back in your mouth, and then hope and pray that the scales will fall off these people's eyes. That's the thing that concerns me the most, that if he does win, that they're going to, like you just said, Jamie Ruskin, or whatever his name is, they cannot handle the truth, Jeff. It's unbelievable. It's right. It's as clear as the nose on your face. And they're unwilling. They're unwilling because they're filled with so much pride. It's a horrible human nature thing we all deal with. They can't just say, oh, I was wrong on that, or he's not that bad after all, because they've made him into the boogeyman. They've made him into
this is the thing now. This is why they're in a panic, because they know they've been lying about him. They know it. Now, what are they going to do when he wins? And I'm telling you, he will win. And it turns out he's not the boogeyman. He's not a dictator. He's not Hitler. In fact, he governs as a very successful, great president who fixed most of the country's problems. Their credibility will be destroyed forever. 31 on the great WRKO. Jeff Kuhner, Boston's Bulldozer. 617-266-6868 is the number. Al in New Hampshire. Thanks for holding, Al, and welcome.
Thank you, Jeff, for taking my call. How are you today?
Very good, Al. How are you?
I'm well, thank you. A few weeks ago, you asked how is it Kamala has this issue of speaking, and the topic is drugs, cocaine, crack, alcohol, marijuana. It messes up their brains so bad that the brain cells turn their language into a word salad. That's my ex-wife. There's a reason why I got divorced. It just messes them up severely. That's number one. Number two, that gentleman that the government's going after for putting the light up on the water tank, that's public property. That's our property. That's government's property. We have the right to do what we want. He did not defame it. He did not destroy it. He just put a light on it. Somebody from the Trump campaign should help him out in filing a 1983 to 1985 federal lawsuit against the governor and the town in deprivation of his rights and election interference. What say you, Jeff?
Oh, I completely agree with you. Look, I'm telling you, I guarantee it, that I know in the summer of 2020, they were projecting BLM everywhere in this state. And these were on government buildings, on college campuses, state universities, public universities, taxpayer funded, on city buildings, schools that we all pay for. They had no problem with BLM signs, BLM projections, or the lighting, the lights that say BLM. Biden-Harris was everywhere in this state. No, again, it's selective cherry picking. They go after this guy, not because they're so offended that it's a city water tank, a water tower, that suddenly, one guy is projecting Trump on it. No, it's the fact that it's Trump. That's what this is. And what it really shows, Al, is that they're scared. They're scared because now they can see it. Their nightmare is unfolding right in front of their eyes. They thought they buried him with January 6th. Didn't work. The lawfare didn't work. Trying to bankrupt him financially didn't work. The assassinations didn't work. Nothing seems to work. And now what they're worried about is, oh my God, he's not just going to win the Electoral College. He may even win the whole damn thing, the whole popular vote. Well, we can't have that in Massachusetts. Massachusetts has to be solid, deep blue. That's why, by the way, they want me off the air. I'm the only voice left, literally, me and the Boston Broadside. That's it. Doing a show based in Boston, based in Massachusetts, that is not afraid to defend Donald Trump, defend the MAGA movement, defend conservatives and patriots. And by the way, from what I'm seeing now, you have many Republicans who are gunning for my head. So, they want me out. They want to stamp out the Trump movement completely from Massachusetts. And they don't want people to believe that Trump has support. Or they want to make it so fringe, Al. Here's what they're really trying to do. They're trying to say, you put Trump up there, it's hate speech. It's the equivalent of saying Hitler, or putting up a Nazi swastika, or whatever, the Confederate flag, or whatever symbol they want to seize. That's what they're really trying to do. They're trying to dehumanize and delegitimize us. And that's why, the RNC should step in and say, what's the fine? $100 a day? No problem. We'll pay it all the way up until November 5th. No problem. You want to double the fine? We'll pay for it. No problem. This has got to stop. This is blatant political discrimination and political persecution. And you're completely right, Al. We pay for that. That guy who lives in Hanson, he's a taxpayer. He pays for that water tower. So if he wants to put up a Trump projection light, he has every right. Now, if the Democrats want to put up a Harris projection light, I don't know why they would, because this state is blanketed with Harris signs. They're everywhere. They're literally everywhere. But if you want to add one more, go ahead. Shoot up a light that says Harris. Okay, I don't care. But you see, that's the difference between us and them, Al. We tolerate them. They will never tolerate us. And that's the crucial difference. That's why I keep telling them they're totalitarian thugs. The only real enemies of quote-unquote democracy is them. It's them. How many times has Kamala Harris had an assassination attempt? 0. What Republican tried to take her or Biden off the ballot? 0. Who's trying to bankrupt Joe Biden or Kamala Harris? Nobody. Who has pressed charges and used the courts to charge either Joe Biden or Kamala Harris? 0. But Donald Trump, they want him bankrupted. They want him behind bars. They want him dead. And now you can't even show his name. And they're lecturing us on tolerance. They're the most intolerant people on the planet. What say you, Al?
That's the true Marxist sign right there of communism. Number one, this country is a republic country, and we are ruled by the people for the people. We are not a democracy. Democracy rises and falls by one vote. That's why we have electoral college to prevent that from happening.
Bingo.
Yep. The other thing I'd like to point out,
democracy is mob rule or majority rule. And I promise I'll give you all the time in the world, Al. Al, you know the answer to this, but let me just be a little bit tongue in cheek. How many times does the word democracy ever appear in the Declaration of Independence, the Constitution, or the Bill of Rights? Take a guess, Al. How many times?
0.
Bingo. How many times does it appear in the Federalist Papers? Okay,
0.
No, it does. No, hundreds of times. But every single time, and these are by the framers and the founders of our country defending why we need to ratify the Constitution, it appears hundreds of times. Every time negative. Literally, they go, this could become or degenerate into a democracy, which is mob rule, where the rights of minorities are trampled, where the rights of individuals are trampled, where, out of 7 people, 4 can vote to eat the other 3. That's democracy. And John Adams' famous formulation. So it's mentioned in the Federalist Papers repeatedly, but that's not what we're creating. That's not what we are. That's not what we ever want to become. So, and why? Because it doesn't give protections to minorities and individuals. That's why the Electoral College is there, to represent the distinct interests of every region and section of our country. Because if New York and California and Illinois run the entire country, what representation, say, do farmers in Iowa get? None. Like none. Who's going to care? If it's 50% plus 1 national popular vote, the farmers of Iowa are going to say, well, they're not going to listen. Why would they listen to us? They won't. So what happens then? Either they get destroyed, or, as our framers warned us, eventually they're going to say, you know what? No representation, no taxation. No taxation, we leave. We secede. It'll break up our country. And they're right. Thank you for that call, Al. Russ in Boston. Thanks for holding, Russ, and welcome.
Jeff, in loving memory of Golda Meir, if you love your children more than you hate President Trump, the choice is clear. The facts speak for themselves. If you vote for Harris, you are falling for a major rope-a-dope that will destroy this country. And remember, when the Nazis came to power, the people of Germany were suffering from a devastating depression. And never forget that, okay? They didn't get sucked into a rope-a-dope. They were desperate, okay? Now, J.D. Vance, I love him in a non-sexual way. He responds with class and facts. And what a great potential president he will make. And look at what a great team that he and Trump make. It's unbelievable. He's probably one of the greatest picks of God knows how long in this country. And the other thing, Jeff, I want to say, Harris, let's face it, she's devastating. And to think about who she picked for vice president, he proclaims to be a knucklehead. Can you imagine? I'm a knucklehead, okay? And people are going to vote for those 2 idiots. It's incredible.
Russ, that's why she's going down. I'm telling you, you can see it now. The polls are really crumbling. Trump is surging. She's plummeting at the wrong time. He's now really coming on at the right time. 9:49 on the great WRKO. Jeff Kuhner, Boston's Bulldozer. 617-266-6868 is the number. Okay, let's go to Giovanni in Saugus. Giovanni, you have a great name. We just lost Giovanni. But anyway, Giovanni, if you want to call back, you have an absolutely wonderful name. Congratulations. 617-266-6868. Tina in Marblehead. Thanks for holding, Tina, and welcome.
Hi. I'd like to thank you for everything that you do. Your whole team, you guys are amazing, and the amount of historical facts in your head is truly amazing.
Thank you. Thank you, Tina.
You're welcome. And I'd also like to say to Kuhner Country to email WRKO and ask them to put you on election night. I don't know if that will help you.
Thank you. Please be respectful, though. I mean, they're honestly, Bill and Alan are big supporters of mine. I shouldn't even be mentioning this, honestly, but look, they have a lot of other things to worry about. They have WBZ. It's going to be a huge night. But if Kuhner Country asks in a very nice way, who knows? I'd love to be on from 7 till midnight.
Also, prayers out to the whole Trump family and to everyone like you that has this forum, because I'm sure there's threats out there. I want everyone to be safe. I pray for your family's safety.
Thank you, Tina. Tina, I'm just curious. The fact now that in these polls, and these are, very establishment media, elite media polls, very liberal, very pro-Democrat, NBC News, ABC News, CBS News, Wall Street Journal, showing Trump now beginning to pull away with it, especially in the battleground states. How do you feel about the election? Do you feel hopeful, optimistic, or do you still fear the Democrats will steal it on election night?
A little still worried about them stealing, but I have more hope. I mean, I think, oh my God, this is the most important election in the country's history. And I'd also like to bring up, just for the people that it might, not that it's going to sway votes, but it's something that people need to know. Candace Owens has done a deep dive into Kamala Harris's genealogy because of what she's put out there in her books and her saying that she's black. And she's actually Jamaican and Irish. One of her ancestors' names is Patrick Finnegan. And she has a huge, huge white side to her family. The woman that raised her father is a white woman, and she has traveled down to Florida. This woman only died in 2019. Her and her sister have gone down there to visit her, but she has all like the birth certificates and everything. So in her book that she wrote 2 books. One was more for young readers, and the person that she has a picture of, that's her grandmother. She has all the documents to who this woman was. And in a city census, the lady lists her occupation as a domestic servant. So she was one of their house slaves. She worked in the house. That was not her grandmother. And in her book, she has pictures, and she says how wonderful her family was, and her Uncle Freddie, her Aunt Chris, her Aunt Mary, and those were her mother's college friends. So she doesn't have any black relatives. She had to appropriate black relatives. And her father did the same thing. Like the woman that raised him, when she married Kamala's grandfather, she stayed in that marriage until she died. But he came to the marriage with 3 children, and that her father was one of those 3 children. So Camilla has traced him back, and he also has a white mother. That's why he's never really talked about that. She talked to his half-brother that was raised with him, and he never heard the name of that person. So, I mean, if people want to know more, but I think it's important to bring up, because I know there's a lot of people that are just Trump, against Trump, never Trump. I have a cousin. She said she doesn't care if Satan's running. She will always vote Democrat, which is just insane to me. But for the people who are voting because she's black, I would want to know, and don't believe me, so far it's an 8-part series. Go and watch it, find out, because we don't know who these people are. Everything they present about themselves is not who they are.
Oh,
How
she's
can
a
you?
liar. Oh, you're dead on. Tina, this is great information. This is really outstanding information. And I think that's another reason that she's going down. She's such an obviously fake human being. As Victor Davis Hanson described it, she's quote unquote an artificial construct. She's artificial. She's completely made up. Everything about her is made up. She's a complete phony. And I think that's why people find her so off-putting. Nothing about her is real. Everything about her is fake. Everything. Including her family history, her genealogy, all of it. Tina, thank you very much for that call. All right, let's see if we can squeeze this in. Giovanni, we got you in Saugus. Giovanni, I hate to do this to you. 1 minute, go.
Okay, thank you, Jeff. Did you ever hear of the George Washington prophecy?
No.
Well, it's a congressman founded years ago, and in it, George Washington had a prophecy.
Mike, you cut him off now? All right, Giovanni, you want to talk about a cliffhanger. Giovanni, you have to call back the show tomorrow, okay? Just I can say your beautiful name again, but you got to finish what you started, all right? Please call back, Giovanni. And on that note, bye-bye.